sun as the days go on forever. There's no place for time when you're young. Can't find the words, but we know how we feel. Could we stay longer here in the summer?
Okay, it's Mark, and hopefully this all works tonight. Had some problems setting up my computer, but anyway, I do believe it will work. So anyways, tonight's sponsor is DragonFrame Software, and DragonFrame is basically a capture program where you can capture your animation from a camera. So you can use a web camera or a DSLR or pretty much any kind of camera, and yeah, so it's really a good program. Check it out at stopmotionstore.com. And let me bring up the webcam. Where is it? Is it here? Here we go. Let's see if this works. Okay, it's working. So I did have some problems setting this up tonight because my computer has some issues. But anyways, so last week we did not have a show. My uncle passed away, so I kind of skipped a day. And so I wasn't really super close to him or anything like that, so it's not really a huge deal, but still not a fun thing to learn about. But anyways, now, so the last time we were together, that was about 2 weeks ago, we were working on this guy right here. And so tonight I want to finish him up. Essentially what we had to do is we had to put on some like a little side piece here on his clothes. He's got some sort of a bandolier, and he's got some arms, and we've got to get some pants made for him as well. So we're gonna work on that. Hey, Hoser Lou. So yeah, Janet was talking about the new solo film, Han Solo film that they're working on, or I think they're probably close to done. I forget when it comes out. Is it Memorial Day or something like that, or Labor Day? I mean, I don't really know, but I think it's kind of strange that they kind of put it, release it on a holiday. They should like give an actual date, so you know, because internationally speaking, I don't think that all the holidays, you know, in Canada and everywhere else are going to match up to ours, you know. But so hey, Dr. Closure. Yeah, so let's see. So I guess before I begin, I want to talk about what I did to prep my stuff tonight. Have a fresh bunch of paper towels in here with some mineral oil. The last one was getting kind of dirty, so it's nice and clean. Every time pretty much that you sit down to work on a clay character, if you work on it one day, the next day you come in, you kind of want to replace it and make it clean, because you don't want to start building up dust, or you know, if you have pets, you don't want like cat hairs getting in there or anything like that. So the secret to it is just putting enough oil in there to where it's not, it saturates the paper towel, but it's not really you know, flowing with oil. You don't want to have like a literal puddle in the bottom of your container. And you can use like I mean, in the old days we used to use film canisters, because you would buy like a roll of film and it had that little canister you put the film in, and they were small and convenient, and you know, they're black in color, so when you set it on a set, it doesn't reflect light and everything. If you want to be really super, you know, protective of your light leaks and all that kind of stuff and reflections, and but so that's good to do. And then also my sculpting tool got kind of messed up because I used some 2-part epoxy to sculpt with this week, actually last 2 days. And what happened was the epoxy, although I had it watered down, it's a water-based kind of epoxy stuff. After it dried, it had like a thin film of just nasty feeling stuff on my tool, and it wasn't smooth. And so I used some 600 grit sandpaper on my stainless steel tool, and this is a 007 wax spatula. But periodically you want to do that, even if you don't use epoxy to sculpt with your tools. You kind of want to smooth your tools over time if they're steel like this, because they do pick up scratches and things, like when you set it on a table, or you kind of you have a tool here and you set it down on your tool like that, and it kind of can mar your surface, and that will actually reflect on how your clay turns out as you sculpt it. So for example, here's a piece of fresh clay, and if I drag it over the surface, you'll see that as I did that, it's actually pretty shiny. It's pretty good looking, right? But if it had a lot of scratches, what it would do is it would sort of drag the clay, and as it drags it, it would pull it and kind of, it would look like this. See if you can get that in focus there. So you notice the difference there. If I press it at an angle to where it's literally dragging the clay, the surface is not as nice, so it requires more work to clean that up later on, with tools and oil and stuff. So yeah, so what to do now? So I think I'm gonna get this guy's bandolier done. Won't take too much time, and then we gotta get some pants and a belt, and I'm thinking I want to attach the belt to his body, probably along the lower edge here. I reset my web camera. It seems to be focusing faster now for some reason. That's a good thing. But I think I'm going to add some clay to make a belt on the lower side of his body. And I'm probably going to have his pants on a layer of glass that's behind the body as well. Just thinking animation-wise with these characters, I would probably prefer to have the body bounce up and down, and have the lower legs, which are he's kind of like a potato sack. He's got these, his pants are not like legs or anything. It's kind of just a thing where he can waddle around like a penguin or something. So as his body moves up, if I have extra space, or if I extend his pants upward a bit, it gives me the ability to kind of make his body jiggle as he moves. Maybe like he comes into the scene, he waddles in, and then he stops, and then his body just kind of jiggles a bit because he's got a big fat belly. So being able to slide that around would be more expressive, I guess. So that's the thinking, or the plan that I have here. The methodology, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen that Han Solo, the trailer, but I saw something that people are starting to use to replace the actor that is in the new film with Han Solo's face, and there's somewhat of a big internet phenomenon right now with artificial intelligence. I've been kind of studying artificial intelligence and how it relates to art, because Google and I think pretty much it's mainly Google, they created some software that can take video and overlay really psychedelic things, like what it tries to do is it tries to recognize patterns, and you feed it images to for it to look for as a pattern. So for example, you tell the Google program, this artificial intelligence program, well, look for birds in patterns. So you put images of birds in the system, and it says, oh, a bird has a beak, it has an eyeball, it has feathers, and it has like little legs with little tiny claws on the end of his toes. And it will take a picture that's completely unrelated to birds. Let's say it's like a picture of a tree, and it will look at the tree and it will see the leaves, and it will say, oh, if you look at the shadows, this group of shadows looks like a woodpecker or something, or a finch, or whatever kind of bird they put in there, and it will start to alter the patterns in the tree and make it look like it's a finch or a woodpecker or whatever, a dove. Or so it kind of recreates the scene in a completely new way, and it's kind of artistic, right? The other thing that I've seen is that they've got this robot they created, and the robot has two parts. It has an arm, and it has a web camera with a bunch of servo motors, right? So this web camera recognizes human faces, and it'll actually, with the little motors, it will look at you and see you're a person and see that you have a face. It will analyze your face for a bit. Then the same camera, which is like a motorized computer robot eyeball, right? So it'll look down at a piece of paper, kind of like what I'm doing here. I'm looking down at this paper, right? And then it will take its arm, which has a pen attached to it, and set the pen on the paper and start to scribble lines. And it will compare what it perceived as your face and literally draw your face in the same way that a real human would do it, So it's kind of scary and exciting at the same time, So robots are now becoming artists in a physical sense, in a digital sense. So the reason I'm bringing all this up is because we're talking about the Han Solo movie, and so if you guys have been on, I don't know what kind of news everybody out there reads, but Reddit.com is a popular page for learning about current events and things like that, and the latest internet memes and fads and all those sorts of things. And so one of the users on Reddit created this thing called deepfakes, which is an artificial intelligence program. And what it does is it looks at a video that you input, and it extrapolates or extracts all of the faces in the video. So, for example, you can take the original Star Wars movie with Han Solo and have this program look at it and say, oh, these are all faces. And it extracts all those faces and puts it into a folder. So there could be thousands of them if you wanted to. And then after you've done that, you have another video file of some sort. And that video file will be used to be the person that has the face of the original actor, and it will be overlaid onto that actor or actress. So if you want to, for example, take Donald Trump and take one of his speeches, but have his face on a speech by Hillary Clinton, that kind of a thing. And it's really funny, but a lot of people are using it for crazy stuff. But somebody actually took the new Han Solo movie and overlaid Harrison Ford's face onto the actor in the new new Solo film. So they took the trailer and took Harrison Ford's face, and and it doesn't really look that good, But it depends on how you operate the program. Like, you can make it really, really good. So what they're saying is, like, if you remember in the Star Wars movie where they remade Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, and her face in Rogue One at the end. And it took a team of people, CGI experts and animators and people that could, reproduce her face as closely as possible. It took millions of dollars to do it, and now you can actually download a program for free, and you can, create a similar high quality image of, in the same way. So it's all really cool, and the technology is brand new, and it's going to improve, and it's going to be it's going to be used for some crazy stuff, but you can't really put that back. It's already out there. People are using these tools, and will these things compete with artists? That's the question I have. Is will robots ever replace the human, touch in terms of like holding a paintbrush, a pencil, working with clay like this? Will robots ever do that? And I think the answer is probably yeah. The way it looks, it definitely will happen. I don't know. I mean, but anyway, before I get too lost in thought, I need to really consider how I'm actually making this. So how am I going to lay this on here? I guess technically if this is forward and he moves that way, this would come from the center and kind of go towards his side. So it has to go this way. But of course, I really love the original handmade let's see something here. The human touch to me is what really makes art art. It makes it have a sort of life or like a soul to it, And with robots, it's going to blur the line of what that means anymore. So Dr. Closer says, I haven't seen that robot. Yeah, if you go on YouTube, you might be able to find it. Maybe search for like robot draws girl or robot draws guy or something like that. There's a few of them, and they're not very long, but and I think what they did is they had an exhibit in a museum somewhere where you could sort of sit down and it would do its thing. And Alright, so hopefully we're back. Can you guys hear me? Let me bring my video camera back. I don't know why that happened. Let me see. Oh, it seems to be working now though. Alright. My apologies. This is why, like I said before, I've been having computer issues as it relates to trying to get my USB stuff, and my HDMI output is all weird, and so anyways, that's alright. Well, we're back. So now I'm just going to finish up the body here. So there's as you can see, we've got this bandolier that we're trying to make, and now I'm just going to add two little straps to the side of here and here. I don't know if you guys have ever messed with computers, but I think I've got some sort of is this working? Oh, I think my chat might be messed up too. Let me bring it back. Yep. Right, what I'm gonna do? Let me see if I can fix that now. let's see if this fixes it. And there we go. All right. It's fixed. Man. Wish I had somebody that could help out with all this technical stuff while I was doing this. All right. I think it has something to do with power management on my computer. It's something that I'm trying to resolve still. I've been on the computer trying to fix a problem for all day today. And I even went to the computer shop and tried to get some help there. Because my video card, I don't know if it's dead or what. But some of the stuff I plug into it didn't work. Anyway. It's a long story. Alright. So anyways, this isn't too bad. I think if he's got his arm like this will look pretty neat. I might add some little hands underneath these arms here. I'm gonna roll out some clay and stick it on. Making characters like this is fairly straightforward. A lot of people don't really think that it's easy to do this, and they don't even try, and that's sad. It takes a lot of messing up, a lot of failing with stuff like this before you become kind of confident in how you go about making your characters and smoothing them and designing them and all that. But it's, if you're afraid to fail and you don't do it, you can't learn, right? So I know a lot of people like that. They want to do art, but they don't even get started. Like they fail before they even try. Okay, so we got somewhat of a side view. We've got, so this would be sort of like this. So arms would be there, and then for this, have a little side arm here. Oops. So something like this. Quite sure how that's going to look. Let's see. So I think I want to actually extend his belly out just a tad bit. Got some of that colored clay over here. Because I think that bandolier and everything, I think he's just too, even though it's a side view, I think he's a bit skinny. So when you stick his head on here, he just looks too small. So I'm definitely going to make him slightly larger. Just to make sure the proportions look nice. Even though he's a secondary character, I don't want him to look odd, Like he's kind of chubby from one angle and then not so chubby on the other angle. What am I doing here? Oh. Getting confused about what color is what. Okay, these here I'm done with. Put these up here. So, what do you think about news about Star Wars movie series from creators of Game of Thrones? Oh, yeah, I heard about that. I don't know. It just seems strange that there's new Star Wars movies coming out like every 6 months or something. Like I don't know. Like I said, after Rogue One came out, I hope that there's not going to be this sort of Star Wars overload where like everybody's just tired of it. They're going to burn the franchise out, I think. They're thinking more about money and not really making it somewhat unique and rare. It's going to be just. It's like The Simpsons. The Simpsons have been on TV for how many years, and you kind of look at it and you go, how many of those films can they make? How many cartoons? And they're funny and stuff. I'm not like putting down The Simpsons or anything like that. I like that show, but all right. So I think this looks a bit better. Smooth this out now. So this is where the oil comes into play. Get in here. I just want to. So the idea with this is whenever I smooth this stuff out is I kind of use my fingers where I can, and where I can't I'll just use my tool, get in there, any sort of major what do you want to call it, concave parts and convex parts. I'm going to kind of even it all out a bit, and then get in there and take your finger and dip it in the oil and just go over it. And it's okay to smooth it too much, because that way you can sort of selectively add detail exactly where you want it, as opposed to just having the clay sort of choose it for you, if you know what I mean. And that's where a lot of those decisions are where you can make something look good or bad, depending on where you put the details. Alright, so you've got a nice flabby body here, bigger belly, and some man boobs going on there. And so when I stick his head on here, you can see that he looks a bit more well-rounded. And here's the front view. Okay, so the bodies are essentially okay. They're we can get away with that because he's a secondary character, so not too much detail, just kind of throwing it together, but also not half-assed either. And so next is what we want to do is we want to get the legs in there. So like I said before, these will be on a lower layer, and then this will be above, so that way we get some leeway and we can maneuver stuff around, and it will still look pretty good. The legs are fairly simple, using some of this like greenish tan color, which matches fairly close to the pants. And I didn't mix this up super good, so I think that these are actually two different colors, or slightly different colors. And then I've got this more green tinged clay, which I don't think I'm going to use. Oh yeah, we're going to need a belt on these as well. And that might be something I can use the green if I mix some brown in with that, or should I use this? I might go with this one. It's pretty dark. So Breen says, what do you call a woman who thinks she can do anything a man can do? Wrong. You think? Alright, so this is probably pretty close. Let's see here. Some of the colors actually are a little bit darker in my design. Should I make it darker? Well, I'm not going to. I think that's okay. I think the shadows are good enough. Or we'll make it seem darker. Now, most of the lighting in this film is going to be from above and to the side. Oh, 1 second. So most of the lighting is going to be from above and to the side as well. So we are going to have like long cast shadows. So we'll give this more depth. All right. Let's see. So the idea with this is going to be that he's going to kind of waddle around when he walks. I don't know if I'm going to need to add replacement legs for him or something. I might keep the walk cycles and stuff to a minimum with these characters. There's going to be one scene where it's going to be super complicated, where they all kind of get into a frenzy, like a big mob of anger, and you know they want to attack this one lady, this woman, and they actually, you know, they plan to kill her in the film, and they don't succeed, but they sort of it's like if you've ever seen the Frankenstein movie where they've got the pitchforks out and they get really pissed off, and no one person has any sanity. So they're going to do that, and so I need to have them sort of get into a jumbled mess of arms and pitchforks and torches and stuff like that, like a tornado kind of a thing, or like a big swirl of, and so I don't really know how I'm going to do that. That's going to be like one of the more complicated scenes, and it's going to be all the secondary characters. So much of this clay, I've got some extra clay for like the pants and everything, and I've got extra for the upper body. So I'll probably come back in my box of clay and find all these colors, and I'll have to sort of work out those different animation cycles. Alright, so here's the legs. They extend up above, like I said. The body will be hovering over it, like this. And that will allow me to sort of move it up and down and wiggle it if I need to, that kind of thing. So I got the general shape. I'm just going to smooth it out. I don't know if you guys have been following the Early Man film from Aardman. They've been on YouTube releasing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And Aardman is using silicone to look like clay in certain characters. And they've created this sort of clay formula that has the same reflectance and translucency as the Nuplast clay specifically. And if you look on YouTube for Adam Tested, which is their channel, Tested, look for that, and then type in Aardman, Aardman, and then there's one where he talks to the guy that actually mixes up all the clay and has this bubblegum machine that they've converted into mixing clay. And another kind of machine which is even more complicated and large and sort of extrudes clay into these different snakes of clay, or they can make large batches of colors for their characters. So they also have like a crew of people that they make replacement faces just like this, but just like the lower faces for their puppets. And all they do is work on those faces and stuff. So some of them are clay, some of them are silicone, some of them are hybrids. Aardman's just kind of doing a whole bunch of stuff to emulate the look of clay, which is really distinct compared to Leica, where they're doing much of their stuff with 3D printing and stuff like that. Which, I mean, Aardman did do on their Pirates film, but it seems like they're really going towards that handcrafted look, which is nice. So Janet says, for me, old Star Wars movies have a unique magic like Never Ending Story or E.T. Yep, that is true. There's a different quality to that, isn't there? Alright, so here's some funny little feet for this guy. I think I'm also going to add some little hands for him as well. And his arms. Oof. Let's give him some hands as well. Yeah, the look of films can really make your reaction to them different. That's the thing. That's finding that reaction in a person is kind of like when a musician plays a certain song, they play it a certain way so that it invokes something in you, a reaction, an emotional feeling. And you can do the same thing depending on how you project a film, either on film, digitally, how the lighting is. There's so many factors to it. And, if you're used to seeing a film a certain way, like on literal film or something, you'll have like a nostalgic feeling when you later see it. And that's kind of why, certain, particularly the older generation of filmmakers like Steven Spielberg, they will fall back on film processes rather than digital in a lot of cases, because that's something that they feel is like a comforting style to see. And when they tell a story, they're thinking visually, they're thinking in that way. They're thinking of how it will look in their heads, like a painter thinks of, for example, they want to paint a boat or something, and they can see the boat in their mind before they paint it. It's just like that, So Steven Spielberg is kind of out there thinking, oh, I think this would be a cool film, as in it needs to be on film, because I can see it in my head this certain way. And so the directors of photography and all these kind of people that work with him, lighting directors and all that, and those kind of people will say, okay, well, if that's what you want, let's look at some older films, let's study them, let's see, let's try to hone in on what you want. And that is why directors of photography are, they get paid a lot to do what they do, because they can manipulate those things. They can take film and they can take digital, or they can take digital and use filters and whatnot to really get that sort of style across to an audience. just like with Nightmare Before Christmas, where Danny Elfman and Tim Burton kind of sat down and they talked about, I think it was Tim Burton. He was saying something, like, yeah, I sat down with Danny Elfman and I had this idea, and he was able to portray it using, lyrics. And getting, like, for example, with Jack Skellington. How is Jack Skellington feeling? Oh, well, he's feeling kind of like he's misunderstood, and people love him, but he's kind of this guy that's, secluded in his own way. Like, he's outwardly happy, but inwardly he's not. So Danny Elfman used that to portray that sort of vibe or feeling to the audience. Let me see. I'm not liking the color of this clay here. Do I have any gray clay? I need to get some gray clay. Let me get it real quick. So I got some clay that's gray to match my design. So Janet says they are like cookies. After a bad dinner and after too many cookies, you hate them. Are you talking about in reference to what I said about Star Wars being overly done now, like overly promoted and made and marketed, and yeah, it's just after a while you get sick of it. Which maybe that's not true, maybe that's not true. I could be wrong about that, but it's just my way of thinking. Alright, so here's my simplified belt. Go. So we've got some arms. We've got the head. Now all this stuff will be, sitting on glass. It will look pretty much lined up the way it's supposed to. But I think that's pretty close to what we need. So I'm going to put a belt on this one. Or belt buckle, that is. This is the side view, so it's going to be facing towards the front. Oops. Wow, so we made some pretty good progress. I think this guy is basically done. All I gotta do is make the pants for the side view. So I'm going to go back to our tan colored clay. Try to envision what this will look like from the side. So I didn't actually draw a side view of him as a design. Like I said, as a secondary character, I'm not really too worried about, how he's going to look. As long as he's, everything kind of lines up and makes sense and all that. That's the important thing. Probably give him like a little fat butt, He's a chubby character, so alright. So I'm curious as to why my web camera did that. I don't know if it was the web camera or what. Stopped my my broadcast before. I think it's related to my overall computer problem right now. And I might actually end up having to reinstall Windows. And that's going to be a big project. I don't really look forward to it. Alright, so the body, let's smooth it out. So you can see kind of what I'm doing with the body, and then here's going to be the legs, pants. So as you line it up, you can see if it's if there's enough clay, if there's too little. So I would say there's too little clay here. I'm going to add some more. Okay. Marvel movies are commercial and colorful like M&Ms. Yep. Yeah, I was kind of disappointed in Wonder Woman. You know, I think that Wonder Woman in the comics, and at least when I was a kid growing up, Linda Carter from Wonder Woman seemed to be a lot smarter. Yeah. It's like if they're trying to make, you know, make women seem, you know, like capable superheroes. You know, I think having a physical abilities is one thing, but having mental is also important, you know. I mean, but I guess it was kind of like a quirky film, you know. It wasn't really meant to be serious. Alright, so this guy has like a seam line that goes down the front of his pants, and then the feet, which kind of protrude. So I'm going to stick some feet on just to see what it looks like. So his feet need to be facing forward. Hopefully this looks good, but if not, it's only clay. Yeah, so I think his feet like that would be alright. So his belt buckle has to be moved over slightly. There we go. So we'd have an arm on the side. And then from this particular angle, he'd have one arm that's kind of behind his body, so you probably wouldn't really see it very easily. And the head, you know. So something like that. This would be about how he looks. And you have his little hair on there. Without the dust. Oh, man. Popped off his little belt buckle as well. Stick that back on there. Alright, so a very rough look. Sort of rough put together here for him, but that's about how he'd look. Alright, so I guess that's going to conclude our show because we have finished up our character. And so next time, I'm not sure who I'm going to do next, but I will definitely work it out and have some designs printed up before the next show so we can get started on another character. Catch you guys all next week. See you later.